Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Force here, and in this video we will be kicking off the start of a series playing out over the next few weeks looking at Guild Wars 2. We're going to be specifically looking at an Asura Necromancer as we play through the starting area Metrica province, as well as taking a look at a little bit of PvP. Let's go ahead and get things started though with an introductory cinematic.
I am Asura. I personified genius. My ancestors were driven from the heart of the earth, forced to live in this bright, wide world. Of course, we've excelled. We exceed expectations in everything we do. With golem and gate and arcane crystal, we have asserted our supremacy in this land and made it our own. We will not move another inch. Not for dragons, not for anyone. By studying the eternal alchemy, we can see that all things are connected. I am a scholar of interconnectivity and relationships. I belong to the College of Synergetics. Synergetics crews delve into the nature of fundamental coherence that many overlook and few exploit. My success positively impacts my crew, who then gratefully assist me, and I succeed even more brilliantly. Reciprocity. I've just been informed that defective golems, not mine of course, are causing havoc out in the jungle. Whatever the imbeciles outside the city have broken, I'll fix, and make my name doing so. In time, I will map the fabric of connectivity that weaves us all together. This is my story.
Alright, so that was the introductory cinematic for my Asura Necromancer Force Lulls, giving you sort of a little bit of a backstory behind the race, as well as my specific character. Now, when you make a character, they actually give you some options in terms of kind of what you want your character's personality to be, a little bit about their history, the way they view the world, sort of stuff, and that little cinematic encapsulates all of those choices that you start off with. We're beginning things here with an event. Now all of the races have this sort of event that you start with, very brief from what I've seen so far. I've taken a look at 3 of the races starting areas, and I can't say any one of them really lasted more than 5 minutes, but it starts off with this kind of intense event. Here specifically, the starting town is being invaded by golems that have malfunctioned, and we'll be learning more about that right here.
It's pure chaos out here. Unacceptable. What's going on?
Just what it looks like. These golems have gone mad. Zojja suspects someone tampered with them, and by someone, she means the Inquest.
Zojja's rarely wrong. Don't tell her I said rarely, by the way. If it is the Inquest, she's going to need help. Where can I find her?
At the malfunctioning gate that's spitting out these deranged golems. She claims she could feel them on the other side of the gate laughing at us.
Not for long. I'm going to help Zojja shut down the problem at its source. Thanks for the information.
Alright, so some quests like this one will have a little bit of dialogue that takes place. Most of them don't, and actually the coolest thing about this game and what I've enjoyed the most is that this is just the questing system. You're not always just talking to NPCs, acquiring quests and moving out, and there are lots of things like events and area quests and things like that, and we'll be looking more specifically at those in a moment. Right now we're just going to continue to work our way through these malfunctioning mechs here and work our way to the gate, which will wrap up the event once we come into the big encounter, which is like it's so cool. You start off and there's literally just like a huge boss fight. It's the first thing that happens in the game. Spending a moment here to look at my abilities. This is Death Shroud, really cool mechanic, and I think probably as soon as I played the Necromancer and I saw this, I was so immediately drawn to it, and this may very well be my my primary profession when the game comes out, just because from the time I spent over the course of this past beta weekend, I thoroughly enjoyed playing the Necromancer, and I could really see myself kind of picking this as a main class for the game again once it does go live. So continue to work our way through these guys, and oh, they keep coming. And I'll be talking about my abilities coming up here. Also, just a brief little overview of what this series is. What I'm looking to do here is provide you guys with a guided tour through my Guild Wars 2 experience over the last beta weekend event that did just take place. And again, I've got tons of footage. I've got about 7 hours of footage, which I'll be using. Now, we'll be editing out certain parts. You know, there's times where there's really just nothing for me to talk about or for you to see, and I'll certainly be editing those out. But I want to show as much as possible. I want to give you guys kind of a first-hand experience if you haven't played the Asura, or if you haven't even played Guild Wars 2. And right up here, this is the lady trying to fix the gate, which these are coming out of.
Reversed. The gate works both ways again. Mr. Sparkles, to me. Let's pay a visit to whomever decided to complicate my day so we can ruin theirs.
And now we go through. And here it is. This is the room. This is the room where it all goes down. So we begin with some little invading minions, and then we're going to dispatch of those, and then there's a huge boss fight. It's so cool. I also took a look at, I believe it's the Sylvani, something along those lines. Forgive me if I mispronounce that. I'm actually not incredibly familiar with Guild Wars 2. This past weekend was the most time I've spent really looking up to the game, researching the game, or even playing it, of course. I didn't get much time with prior beta weekend, so I'm still learning things, but the tree people, that's what they are. And that starting event, you killed this like giant nightmare dragon, and the starting event for the oh gosh, I'm not going to remember their name at all. The little dog guys, they've got a pretty cool starting event too. So again, the three races that I've played through, it's just been really epic. You just start off and there's this giant thing going on, and it just goes to show you, you know, they want your character to feel really powerful and that you're pretty significant in the world, and that's kind of the theme that's played throughout from what I've played so far of this game, and again, something that I've really enjoyed of it. So we're just going to take out these little minions, little chumps. You can see me switching forms there. Got a whole bunch of abilities. Death Pack, light on damage. I move towards them, but I get to chill enemies around them. As long as the ability hits, it'll teleport me to that person and chill enemies around him as well. Now you're going to notice something else too, if you're wondering, hey, how are these skill things working? If you've been paying attention to the skill bar in the lower left as we've been playing, I use skills and unlock the additional abilities for that weapon. It's all based off the weapon type you use. So depending on the weapon you use and depending on the profession that you are, whatever of the ones that are available, so I'm the Necromancer, I am using an axe, a one-handed axe as the Necromancer, and that gives me certain abilities. And here it is. Here's the boss.
Looks like the guest of honor has arrived. Let's take it down.
So there's the guest of honor, and I get slammed here immediately. It was awful. So depending on your profession and the weapons that you're wielding, it changes the abilities that you have. And the more you use the abilities, the more you use the weapon, you'll unlock the abilities available to it. It's a pretty quick process, but it's not immediate. You don't just get a weapon and you immediately have all the abilities unlocked for it. But since mine's a one-handed weapon, I've got a one-handed axe, I've got 3 available skills for it. I'm eventually going to pick up an offhand, and depending on the offhand I use, it will change my available number 4 and 5 abilities. And then ability 6 is always a heal ability, and then 7 through 0 are additional abilities that you unlock while you level, and then you use skill points that you get while playing the game to actually purchase those. And you've got a whole bunch of different choices, so definitely the different individuals, even though playing the same profession, can have a vastly different skill set depending on the weapon that you use and depending on the 6 through 0 skills that you select. Weapon or weapons that you use. So here we go, fighting giant rock dude. And he is now dead.
Fine. We'll be back.
Makes him sad. Look at that. Oh no, my rock piece is falling off. Oh, womp womp womp. And then now that that is over, we are in Metrica province. This is the starting zone for the Asura. And here's some more dialogue.
Hey, it's you again. I see you survived with your epidermis intact.
Of course. It takes more than a giant rampaging inquest golem to get the better of me.
Modest, too. Well, you've earned a dash of praise, if you ask me. The crews around the city would kill for the assistance of an inventor with your talents. You should ask around. Make yourself invaluable.
Not a bad idea. Thanks.
Alright, so the event is complete, and now we actually get to choose a reward. We get to choose between two things. These are for our offhand weapon. I've got the choice between a focus as well as a war horn. Now, depending on which offhand you use, that is going to change the abilities that you have access to. I specifically decide to use the focus, and actually later on in the video, I end up kind of picking one particular setup. I end up going with the scepter and the focus. Now, between now and then, I'll try out using the axe and the war horn, and I actually end up using a staff as well. But we're going to take a moment now to take a look at the abilities, starting there with Death Shroud and Life Force. Death Shroud is an alternative form, which you'll see me use in a moment, and Life Force is something that I acquire when things die around me, as well as using certain abilities. The number 1 ability is Rending Claws, then we have got Ghastly Claws, and then lastly, number 3 ability there is Unholy Feast. Let me quickly run over those for you. Rending Claws, just as a basic attack, does damage. However, it also causes vulnerability to the target. The second ability there is Ghastly Claws. This is a quick succession of flurry of strikes. I gain life force per strike, so it does damage. I also gain life force. So life force, again, is not only gained when I kill things, but also when I hit with certain abilities, and Ghastly Claws is one of them. And then we have got Unholy Feast. That damages, that's the number 3 ability that damages nearby foes, and I gain retaliation for each foe that I strike with it. And retaliation reflects incoming damage back to its source. And when I was getting caught up in the abilities, I actually missed the quest person, so we're going to talk to her.
Welcome to Metrica Province. You'll find private laboratories all over where our crews work on dangerous research, and we pay the price for excellence. Labs need to be carefully maintained, but I'm sure that's not news to you. We see a fair bit of interference from the Inquest. They're envious of our advances and covered our research materials. Our researchers could use someone with your talents. On your journey, you may also encounter nefarious events in the world. Don't let these opportunities pass by you. Jump in and help. As you gad about, you'll encounter our Magi Matter transportive devices, more commonly known as waypoints. They're mini-gates that, for a trivial fee, transport you across great distances. They're the second most convenient way to travel next to our gates. In the vast, wide world, a plethora of challenges await you, some more demanding than others. Watch for the special ones, because they'll give you an opportunity to increase your skill and exceed your own limits.
Alright, so when first coming across a particular area, there will be specific NPCs that actually just guide you through what's going on in the area. And actually I pause quickly here just to check the map and look at sort of the particular NPCs in this town, like the vendors, and they have a sort of an auction house system as well. Also, there are scouts scattered throughout the world as you progress through them, and you can see me here in my alternative form, and just taking a quick look at these abilities. Life Blast does more damage with the more life force that I have. Then there's Death Pact, and we're going to switch back there. Absolutely charming world here. The Asura starting area I thought was gorgeous. I just loved it. I don't know. It's very quirky and very intriguing as well. And I like, it's the tiny intellectual race, and I thought that was a good contrast to me because I'm not very smart.
Fascinating.
All right. Now this is a zone quest NPC here. You don't need to speak to them. I actually ended up just talking to her just to read some of the dialogue. When I was starting off, I was actually really intrigued with that. I end up later on really just kind of tearing through the dialogue and just specifically focusing on the actions, killing things, and completing those quests. But You don't even need to talk to her. The coolest thing, and I spoke briefly onto this earlier, I think the coolest thing about this game's questing system is that you don't really, very, very rarely do you actually have to talk to any NPCs. You just move into an area, and once you're in that area, you acquire the quest. You don't need to run up to someone with a question mark over their head. Now, in the very beginning, you have seen me speak to a decent amount of NPCs as we were taking through the introductory sort of tutorial stage of the game. But as we progress through this tour here of Guild Wars 2, you're going to notice that most of the quests that I complete and even pick up, I haven't spoken to anyone. I just walked into an area and then I acquire a quest, help this person. And they do it in a way that really makes sense, because you saw me speak to that person at the very beginning. And he informed me, like, if I'm looking at the world and my character, I'm like, well, how does this person even know to do these things? Well, I spoke to that guy earlier who said, hey, as you work your way through this zone, there are people who are going to need your help. So if you help them out, you're going to get a reward for it. And so now it makes sense within the world. It makes sense that, you know, my character would know that he has to do these things. So you've seen me here. You're going to notice a progress bar in the upper right. And the font is very small. I'm pretty sure you can scale up the UI. I didn't, though. I kept it small. So you might have to blow this up to full screen to read that in the upper right. Actually, while even playing, I had to, like, peer towards the monitor, so I probably should have scaled that up if that's an option. I'm pretty sure I remember seeing UI scaling though in the game's options, so I'm pretty sure that is an option for you. But you're just going to see me in this zone, just doing various things. I'm just running up to these little these golems here, and activating them, and it's helping add to the progression bar. And once that progression bar is complete, then I get rewards. I get XP and I get sent mail with some money usually. And then I spoke to this little dude here, and he gave me the staff, and he wanted me to test it out. And you can see he's actually laughing at me because it's terrible. Oh, my guy's just like freezing to death here. It's like, this is terrible. Why would you do this to me? He thinks it's funny too. But just these random little events. Sometimes it's to kill something, sometimes it's to activate or interact with someone. And actually coming up here in just one moment, you're going to see this little mini game that I get to play. So I just kept moving around trying to find these. I was like, well, this is a really easy way to complete the quest. I'll just, you know, scroll through this quick dialogue here of this guy, and then I get more added to that progression bar closer to finishing this particular zone quest. But coming up here on the left, and I believe I go right to it here. I got just check out those guys. So look at this. This is a little mini game, and this is part of completing this area quest. I take control of this little dude, and I have a little battle. And I was like, wow, this is neat. This is better. This is certainly better than gathering wolf claws, you know? Which is, it's fine. You see it in so many MMOs, and it's fine. I'm okay with it. I mean, I understand that grinding has always been a part of MMOs, but in Guild Wars 2, they've done something really cool here. I spent just a moment moving around with these abilities, just figuring out what's going on, and then I realized, okay, so I get to move him around, and then I get to attack, and we're gonna finally face this guy and move towards him, which getting the first move into melee range was a bad idea. Immediately after I did that, I was like, wait a second, he just gets the first hit. Why would I, I shouldn't have done that. But it doesn't really matter because this still adds to the progression, even though I ended up, I lost the duel, guys. Oh, it was terrible. Look at how intense this is. But I still, as you can see, the progression bar has been added to. So it's okay, it was worth it, even though the duel was lost. I tried switching sides. I'm like, maybe if I fight with him now, it could be better. And you can see briefly in the upper right, I actually walked into a different zone outside of this quest zone, and I just picked it up immediately. It started me out. It said, hey, you can do this. And then as soon as I walked back into the vicinity for this area quest, it brought it back up. There's a little event going on to the left. I kind of just ignored it here. And I'll be perfectly honest, this being my first playthrough, I didn't even realize. I was like, whoa, okay, that's some stuff's going on over there. And I wasn't even looking at the upper right at that time. I would have realized that, hey, there's an area quest, maybe I should participate. But you'll see plenty of them. There's a lot of area quests that take place throughout this series that we'll be taking a look at, so fret not. And there it is. That was the last one that I needed to do. Now, it's telling me to check my mail. I completed that area quest. On the mini map, it goes from the little heart that you see that is now filled in. Initially, it is empty, and then once you complete that area for that particular NPC, it fills up, and you get mail with a reward, and you get a big boost in XP as well. So you're gonna see here, take my reward, just a little bit of money, and then that's just a mail as well. I'm like, okay, cool, thanks for the kind words. Thanks for sending me that mail. All right, so we're going to move up to the next quest area. You can see I just quickly, briefly check the map to orientate myself, make sure I'm headed in the right direction, and then I go towards there. And now, as I move into this next area, there's a different set of objectives. Holy heck. But first, how could we see a giant worm thing and not kill it? Yeah, I don't know. Now, as we work through the series, I'll specifically be spending more and more time talking more in depth about the Necromancer. I thought that this video, I'd like to briefly just go over some introductory stuff. And again, this is really what you can expect from the series. I'm calling it a guided tour because that's kind of how I would like it to be. That's how I'd like to narrate it, and that's how I'd like to present it to you guys. I want you to see pretty much everything that I saw in my, my 7 hours of playing over the beta, over the course of this weekend. Again, there are exceptions. I will be cutting out certain things, very, very boring and monotonous things. There are brief moments in this game where I do end up doing some grinding. I'll probably just cut that out. I'll show it briefly. I'm like, hey, I grinded here for 5 minutes to gain some XP. But that's the thing, though. It was very rare, and it wasn't so necessary. In most MMOs, I feel so required to grind. At least when MMOs first come out. You know, I played World of Warcraft for a long time, and they did a good job of really kind of getting rid of that in recent expansions. At least I felt that their questing was very well paced in recent expansions, and they did a good job of the leveling from that. But when MMOs first come out, most of the times I feel required to grind, and that was the case when WoW first came out. And with Guild Wars 2 here, I do not feel it necessary to grind. So here I am in my alternative form, taking a quick look at the abilities. Second ability is Death Pact. I deal damage, teleport towards them, chill nearby enemies. Doom, so good. My favorite thing about the alternative form of the Necromancer is Doom. It's a brief fear. It's like a 2-second fear. And here's pretty. This is part of, as small as this seems, this is part of the charming effect that I love from the Asura start area. Lots of like jumping to go across things, not just a normal bridge or stairs even. Stairs require jumping to go from ledge to ledge. That might seem like really monotonous and crappy, but I thought it was just really, really kind of charming, and I really liked it. Plus the jump animation for these guys are super cool. And that's actually going to wrap it up for this first video in this series. Now again, expect more of the same in future videos. I will be taking you, I have literally got 6.5 or 7 hours of footage playing the PvE here as the Asura Necromancer, and I'll be taking you through that entire experience, talking with you, giving you my thoughts and opinions on the game, and just kind of explaining what's going on from my perspective, who is really, you know, I'm a new player to this game. Certainly that's the case. I'm sure there are people who be watching this who are gonna like be so offended that I don't know everything that they know, but I'm excited about Guild Wars 2, and this is the coolest thing. I'm excited to learn more about it. I really, really enjoyed the beta weekend. I can't wait till this game comes out. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And yeah, so look forward to more videos in the future. Also, I have about 1.5 hours of PvP footage as an Asura Necromancer, so we'll be sporadically throwing some of those in as well. I can talk to you about my PvP experience. I played PvP for 1.5 hours, and of the matches I played, like half of them, I was top of the leaderboard. It was a riot. I was like, what the heck is going on? I know nothing about this game. Yes, that's right. I am that pro. Thanks for watching, guys. Tune in the future. We'll be coming out with more videos throughout the course of the next few weeks. And as always, keep watching and keep owning. Thanks for watching. Take it easy, guys.